Welcome to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive.
Great to be here.
Today we're really getting stuck into some fascinating analysis about the upcoming British and Irish Lions tour to Australia.
Yeah, specifically looking at Nick Mallett's thoughts, which came out on Rugby Pass. Some really interesting points.
Absolutely. And look, if you enjoy this sort of in-depth rugby chat, make sure you hit subscribe on Rugby Obsession. You won't want to miss out.
So, right off the bat, Mallett's overall prediction is, well, he's a bit on the fence. He's calling it super close.
Like 2-1 either way.
Exactly, 2-1 either way. But the really interesting bit is why he thinks it'll be so tight. It boils down to this idea about coaching styles clashing.
Okay, right. So Andy Farrell's Ireland style, that really high tempo, keep the ball, loads of phases game, Mallett thinks that might actually suit the Aussies.
That's the core of his argument, yeah. He poses this question, like, if the Lions try to just run the Wallabies off their feet on home soil, could that backfire? Could it lead to a surprise home win?
Because it's different from how successful Lions teams have often operated.
Precisely. He contrasts it with, the historical approach, that really dominant forward-based style. He harks back to the big lock forwards.
The real engines like Martin Johnson.
Martin Johnson, Willie John McBride, Paul O'Connell.
Yeah.
Those powering figures who set the physical tone.
Legends. He does mention Maro Itoje is in the current mix, of course, someone in that kind of mold.
He does, yeah. But Mallett's point seems to be about the overall strategy. That historic dominance wasn't just about individuals. It was about the pack asserting itself, winning penalties, grinding teams down.
That relentless pressure.
Exactly. He implies Farrell's more expansive game might not wear down a tough Aussie side in quite the same way.
And does he link that to selection choices beyond just the locks?
Yeah, he points to the back row, Farrell picking these sort of mobile hybrid back rowers rather than perhaps the huge gain line enforcers of the past.
Okay, so that choice kind of signals the intent, doesn't it? Playing a faster, more open game.
It reinforces that idea, definitely. Mallett reads it as leaning into that high-tempo approach.
So Mallett's suggesting this style, while potent for Ireland, might be less suited for a Lions tour against this Australia, playing into their hands, potentially.
That seems to be his thinking. And a huge piece of this puzzle for him is the Joe Schmidt factor.
Ah, yes. The impact he's had on the Wallabies.
Mallett is clearly, seriously impressed with Schmidt, how he's turned them around since taking over after that. Well, let's just say disappointing World Cup under Eddie Jones.
It's been quite the turnaround, hasn't it? You saw glimpses on their Northern Hemisphere tour.
Definitely. Mallett highlights those wins against England and Wales. Said they were playing good rugby, exciting rugby again. It felt different.
A world away from the struggles before.
Yeah, Mallett uses the phrase, he's pulled them together, which is a stark contrast to what he saw happening under the previous management. It's clearly made him reassess how tough this series will be.
It really adds another layer of intrigue, doesn't it? Makes you wonder how it'll all play out. And hey, if you want to keep up with all the analysis as the tour gets closer, remember to subscribe to Rugby Obsession.
Absolutely, because maybe before Schmidt, Mallett saw a clearer path for the Lions. But now, it looks like a proper battle.
Which brings us neatly onto specific selections where maybe one choice could tip the balance. Fly half, for instance.
Oh yeah, this is where Mallett gets really specific with his opinion. He actually makes a case for starting Finn Smith at 10.
Ahead of Finn Russell, that's a big call.
It is, considering Russell's profile. But Mallett describes Smith as a little bit more controlled.
More controlled. How so?
He reckons Smith is better at creating space for others, particularly the centers. He used this phrase, he'll stop a defender to create space for you. Like subtle manipulation.
That's interesting detail. Less flash, more craft, maybe.
Sort of, yeah. In contrast, he sees Russell as someone who takes more risks, where, when it is not on, suddenly the pass is coming, and good luck.
Right, the miracle ball that sometimes isn't quite on. High risk, high reward.
Exactly. And Mallett backs this up, pointing to Smith's performances against really tough opposition, like Leinster and the Bulls. He sees real composure and game management there.
He thinks Smith showed he can handle the pressure cooker moments.
That seems to be the implication, which leads to a good question for you listening, actually.
Yeah, what do you all make of Mallett's take? Do you buy his argument about the coaching clash?
And what about that fly half call? Smith over Russell.
Uh-huh.
Is that the right way to go for the Lions?
We genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Drop your opinions in the comments section. Mallett's certainly given us plenty to chew on.
He really has. It just highlights how many fascinating tactical layers there are to a Lions tour. These potential style clashes, the key individual battles. That's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah, understanding these different perspectives like Mallett's hopefully gives everyone listening a deeper appreciation for what's coming.
We hope this deep dive has helped unpack some of those key talking points around the tour.
It's going to be absolutely captivating to see how Farrell's strategy, Schmidt's response, and these key selections actually play out on the pitch.
Can't wait, honestly.
And don't forget, for more deep dives and ongoing coverage as the tour approaches, make sure you're subscribed to Rugby Obsession.
We'll be following it all very closely right here.
Thank you so much for listening to the Rugby Obsession Deep Dive, and we really look forward to you listening to our next episode.